Oh,
On that for you.
oh,
And
okay.
then
Alright.
the second is a memo update with the King Development stuff as to where I'm at.
Do you have
So-
another agenda for Joe?
I just give these to you, they're part of the agenda if you will, they get added.
Here, I'll tell you which one it is. It's one of these.
You want to, Joe?
Yeah, thank you.
You bet. I'm gonna take one too. I didn't get one. I did not take one, or is this mine? No, this is one that has open on it. Did he just wanna?
Sure, you wanna,
You have extras, I'll set them up over here.
you got an extra for, you got those? Or just different?
I gave you a packet and
Right.
you got an agenda.
And I got an agenda, and then Jason
Gave us,
Do you have any extra of those, Jason?
What?
Oh, these?
I got a few extras.
Oh, okay, great, great. No, I just, do you guys got this other two?
And with that, we're running a minute or two late here,
yeah,
but
about four.
We have what?
Do you want?
Six-
is it all-
I gave a
Yep,
copy to Jim.
6:34 and
Might wanna take one too, Linda.
Do you want a copy?
Hey, Jim? 6:34, so we'll call the meeting to order here.
Okay, yep.
Now, there is a question right now. We don't have full roll of commissioners right now. We do have Colleen's seat is open. My seat is also up. And we do also have a city council seat that we're waiting for them to fill. So with that, we have Commissioner Wendy Phillips, Vice Chair, if you're here.
Here,
Commissioner Jim Phillips.
I'm here.
Commissioner Scott Sorensen. Commissioner John Evans.
I'm here.
And I am Kathy Brandt Rucker. With that, there's a question if we have quorum tonight, but we are not necessarily voting on anything. We are just, so it can be considered, I guess, an informational meeting if we want. Or if we want to say that I'm sitting on it or not, then we would have quorum, but
well, what do our bylaws or what
I'm not
does
sure.
state statutes say about the term? Is it
Well, that
something?
was something new that was added.
Well, yeah,
to
because I know that-
It started with Sunny.
That when I was the chair, I think I was 6 months into my term when it was established that my time had actually kind of run out.
Yeah, so there really wasn't anything that was set up that way with the city, okay, and Sunny said, okay, let's go
Let's
ahead
start to
and let's start to
regulate the
that, and so
terms.
that's how the 3-year thing came about, that got put in.
so.
You haven't seen anything else in there, Jason, have you, evident?
No, and I have no record of whose term's up when, which is the question. I did get her email,
Yeah,
but I was looking to fill who else. And I asked every commission and board because I wanted to post them all at the same time,
yeah,
which was why there was a delay. It didn't get posted right away. And then we got into everything else that's happened in the last month and a half. And so,
So I know I was
So,
brought
yeah.
on in the middle to fill somebody else's term, but I don't know exactly what my expiration date is.
yeah, so I
So-
just,
so I
Today,
think-
if
I
you
think
guys are
that-
good, we'll just continue.
I think that you're
forward
good
for
at what's
tonight.
going on. Jason had asked if Wendy was gonna resign, okay?
yeah, because I heard
And,
that.
and she was gonna resign tonight, so that's why there was nothing that went back to you.
And that's fine. And I was just trying to get, just trying
So
to get.
for
numbers.
tonight, we have
Where
4
we're at.
people here, so
Yeah,
we are
we got
gonna
4 people, we got quorum.
And I'm
continue
fine
on.
with that, however you guys want to work it. I'm not trying to push anybody one way or the other. I spoke with Kathy beforehand.
We continue on here.
Okay.
Do we have Phil Carlson?
No,
Do you want me to?
Joe
turn
Palin?
monitor so you can see?
Yeah, that would be great.
I mean,
Okay,
if there
and
was
we do have
nothing
Jason.
if there was nothing that Phil
Right.
had that he was working on, he wouldn't be on normally unless there was something that was there.
So with that, we'll move on from roll call into the agenda, approval of the agenda. Does anybody have anything? We don't have any public hearings this evening, but anything to add or update that's on the current draft agenda here?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I second.
Oh, you beat you
Yep.
there?
That's fine.
All right.
Gotta be quick on this.
First Jim, second John, all in favor of the agenda as written?
I,
Aye.
Any opposed? It's approved. Next is approval of the minutes. There are no minutes currently available for November or December, so those will appear on next month's agenda. No public hearings for January, and then with that, we move into new business. With new business there, I do have just a short packet of information that was on information that's on the website about our current annexation process. So all of this information, there's a guide for annexation that everybody should have in their packet in front of them. And that's just 2 pages that basically says a Q&A that's go to the city office, go to City Hall. With that, we also have a flow chart, though. This is probably the more useful thing is if you do have township land or something outside of the city of Orinoco and you want to get annexed into the city, everything starts with the City Hall receiving the petition for annexation. So with that, there is actually an application on the city's website, affidavit for filing petition for annexation. With that, I did put copies in your packets too of the actual blank application that's out there. Along with the blank application, I did put in there just to go along with the application. So once it gets filled out and turned in, it needs to, city clerk would review the application, the survey, legal docs, and the flute map. With that, if the application is not complete, the clerk will kind of go back to the applicant and work till everything's complete. Once the application is complete, if the property is not in our future land use plan, then we are going to see it come back to us at planning and zoning here. If we do have property coming in for annexation, but it's already on our future land use plan, and that's this map also in your packet there. If the map property is already appearing on our future land use, here in planning and zoning, we are not going to see it come back to us for annexation. It's going to go directly through City Hall and go straight to council. And with it going straight to council, we'll get a copy of it. We're on the distribution list to get a copy. But just so you guys know, for planning and zoning, we do not necessarily have any type of say whatsoever in what does or doesn't get annexed, unless it's not on this flute map, at which point we'd have a hearing. Just so everybody's clear there. Once it goes through council, that's where the magic would actually happen. And at that point, depending on approval or denial, that's the next steps that would be on that flow chart. So I just wanted to make sure you guys were aware of that piece of it for the annexation on how that works for planning and zoning. And with that, just that short blurb, we do have the opportunity because the Orinoco Crossing discussion is next on the agenda. And my understanding is the location of that property, you guys end up doing that annexation, it's already on the fleet map from what I can see here. So for the annexation part of it, you would not appear in front of us at all because it is already a part of this map.
It looks like they've got it zoned as highway commercial on here.
Yeah, a big chunk of it's already highway commercial for future land use. Now, once an annexation were to happen, my understanding, and here's where we'd have to double check with the attorney, is for land that gets annexed in, they look at this map, determine based on this map what the incoming planning and zoning would be.
I think it all gets distributed as R1 according to the code.
Is that what the
Yeah,
code is
and that's
currently
when
at?
that goes through a rezoning process. That's my understanding of it.
Okay.
Again, there would be double checking with
Yeah,
everything, but
I'm
from
not-
everything I've researched and been told, everything that comes in is R1. And then it gets rezoned. Now, how it works with the future land use
Yeah.
plan stuff in place, I don't know if it goes R1 and then has to come here and it
And then it would
goes
be
through a
rezoned
rezone-
back to business
rezoned back to
commercial.
what it is here.
Or
you know.
highway commercial, I mean.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but I'd have to look more into that, but I do know when it is finally annexed in, it's annexed in as R1.
Okay, yeah, that piece of it, I'm not positive. I can just say with the annexation though, unless it was not appearing on this map, we're not going to see anything for annexation. But that all said and done, I'm very delighted that we have you guys here tonight to hopefully give us an opportunity to hear what you've got planned for Orinoco Crossings.
Yeah, I'll go.
And with that, if you want to just say your name so that they'll,
Make sure they're the statements. It's 3.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Of course.
Thank you very much.
Of course. Okay. Joseph Sutherland. What was the other thing I'm supposed to say? My birthday?
That's good.
That'll work.
First of all, it's Gold Rush Crossing. It's not Orinoco Crossing.
I will take that one on myself for writing it
Damn.
all out. Yeah,
There you go.
thank you.
And I'm unsure about the committee participation. Are we missing like half the committee here and the other half I hear is resigning? I mean, I don't understand what's going on here.
I know we've got one that was here because of council, and then they did not get reelected, so one of our council seats is not filled.
And that will be filled at
Waiting for
the
the-
next council meeting on that this month.
And one is out tonight,
One is,
When
yeah,
one is out, which is Scott, he's out tonight.
and
one resigned last month.
because her
Wait,
term
Her term
expired,
was up.
Right, yeah, which is Colleen.
so we will be getting one more for sure next month, and we'll have an open seat.
Well, when it comes to this, it seems like we've started over and over and over. And now we're starting over again. And now I have a feeling when new people come in, we're gonna do it again. And this has been going on way too long. I heard your discussions earlier. And all I heard was to the best of my knowledge, I know this, I know that. Well, it's time to know what's going on. Whoever's filling these seats has to know what's going on and have answers and not think they know what's going on. This is a huge project. It's a huge tax base. Do we want the project to go through, yes or no? I mean, that's really the question. If it's yes, let's get a move on. And let's help us and let us help you go through the process and the steps to get to the finish line. The communication that we've had and the direction that we've had has been nothing but poor. So if we're gonna be doing it the right way, then we need to know which way that is. Back in May, April, June, we did have private meetings with Ryland, and they were fantastic meetings. We had a P and Z meeting back on 9/12/24, and that went fantastic. We did a lot of the verbal things that we were told that would like to be done, like meet with the community and meet with the neighbors and stuff like that, and that went fantastic. The P and Z meeting and neighbor all is all in on the project. When we had that P and Z meeting, we can look at the video from the past. I mean, I stayed here until I don't know what time at night because the committee and everybody was so fired up and couldn't wait for this. And I talked to the neighbors I'm still talking to the neighbors, and they love everything that's going on, and they love the input and the things that we are trying to bring to the community. There's a map that I showed you, which is number 1 on my list. And this is a map that we've had out there for quite some time. And we proposed the map and we got verbal acceptance on the map, but we never got anything. We don't know what to do after the map as far as that's concerned. Our engineer on the second page of your email there, where my face is on the top in the middle there, kind of big. It says, Joe, here is the original concept plan that was presented to the city of Orinoco at multiple meetings. All parties involved knew the intention was to have the sewer, water, and roads put in by November 1st of 2024. It was brought to our attention for the first time, for me anyway, not, and I'm gonna guess to the developer Linda King and her partners, that there was nothing guidance-wise to tell us what our next step is, what's what do we have to do to keep things moving forward? And it was told to us last week after over a year that we need to do a quick petition of rezoning application, which we did the next day. And it was emailed to the individuals that I was told to email it to. And then I get which is your last page there, an email response from one person saying that they're denying the acceptance of the rezoning application. Now, does the whole committee know that? Or is it just one person running the show?
If you're asking me if I was aware of this going on, I had no awareness of it.
Okay. So we're talking to the P and Z meeting and they're making a denial of my acceptance on the rezoning application. Is that correct?
It's not a P and Z
Okay.
decision that we voted on, and we didn't receive this until now.
Just now.
Right.
Okay.
We were not told that we needed to, we didn't even know of that form until last week. It was never communicated to us, to our engineers before that, or anything.
And there wasn't a date on the form because we didn't know what date to put. Do we put today's date? Do we put last year's date or the year before date? So we left that open on purpose.
And there was no one available to answer the question.
So to get to the finish line, the west side of Linda's property is currently B2 highway commercial. The east side is split. The PED oriented commercial B3 is on the south side of the east side. And multifamily residential R2 is on the north side. And we've been asking for both of them to be matched B2 commercial. Because we are interested in doing what's on the prelim map that I gave you on page 1. And we're not interested in doing any trailer courts or any multifamily units or anything like that. And that's also what the majority of the community wants. I'll turn this over to Linda, unless anybody has any more questions for me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, you bet.
We were originally led to believe that we had to have a okay from you people. Is that true or not? Before we go before the board this month?
So the annexation piece of it, because it's already on this other map, doesn't come to us at all. If there's a zone change involved, that would come back to us. My understanding is the annexation happens first, and then we'd have to rezone potentially,
Okay.
depending on how it comes in. And I don't know if that's something during the annexation process that can be defined. Because I have not been personally involved in an annexation piece on the zoning.
We have been going on this for 2 years. There has been no satisfactory communication on what we were supposed to do. My bottom line and my partner's bottom line is simply this. We will be accepted this month with zoning changes, or we will not annex to Orinoco. We will do it in the township as laid out because they are willing to do it. I'm not playing any more games. And you could have got a hold of me. You're on my dialing list so you don't go to robocall. And you haven't done your job. You have any questions?
Thank you very much.
Do not.
2 years is over 2 years is a long time. And it was Ryland that contacted us and asked us to annex over 2 years ago with multiple meetings. He did not inform the township that he was doing that, which is my understanding from Ms. Maskey, that that is supposed to be done. And in my opinion, this has just been, I did a development, I'm doing one out in Wyoming. I dealt with 38 federal agencies, 12 state agencies. I have to put in a sewer, I have to put in water. I'm doing one building that has under one roof 40 acres. That was done in 3 months. Accepted both federally and statewide. I have done many developments in Minnesota, Iowa, other states. I have never
Appreciate the feedback.
2 years is a hell of a long time.
I know here in P and Z, we saw the prelim in September, which that was the first I had heard of it. So I appreciated you guys bringing it forward. And then after the September until really today and getting a note to please put it onto the agenda for this evening, which I appreciate you guys reaching out. Appreciate that a lot. Although I will take full responsibility for not putting the word Golden Rush. I did Orinoco, so I appreciate, I will take that one on myself there.
That's okay.
But I absolutely appreciate you reaching out and giving us feedback on.
Understand our frustration on this.
We do.
But we have to move forward this month, and we will one way or another.
I do know with our particular group here, we meet monthly, but we do have the ability to call special meetings if we're allowed to do that.
It will be done this
Yep.
month. or as
So I do
said.
know on the planning and zoning side, that's what we have the ability to do. And if we need a public hearing, we do have to post it according to state law. So that's what I do know on the planning and zoning side. How it relates with the annexation, how it relates with how city council has to approve things, that piece I don't know because that's outside of my control.
We were not given any of this information, irregardless of what Jason's letter said.
Yeah, so I pulled all this stuff
We
off
had
our
our
website to make
engineers
sure we
there.
had.
We had other partners there. Joe was there, I was there, and we were not given that information.
Yeah. Definitely a lapse, and I cannot speak for that one way or the other. I can talk about what we can do here.
Can I speak to that?
Yes.
Over my memo? Okay. As you'll see before you, there's a memo there that discusses a little bit about this and kind of from when I came into this. Obviously, I wasn't here 2 years ago with the start of this. But you'll see that, my first meeting with them was in early July, with Ms. King and her group of engineers and everybody else. We kind of sat down, we had a productive meeting. This was after the Hamilton development, so we kind of gave them some pointers and ideas of, hey, this is how you should proceed moving forward. The best way to help this go through. We want it to be successful, we want it to go through. You'll see the 6 steps that were kind of outlined for them and given to them.
Jason, that's
I
an
am-
out and out lie.
Please don't interrupt me. I did not interrupt you. The 6 steps that were given to them, obviously a meeting with us again when they have a more concrete plan, because the initial stuff was just a basic concept. And so when we did end up meeting with them, a similar plan that you have here, that's what was provided to us. Also, we encourage them to schedule meetings with city council members, meet with the EDA, meet with planning and zoning, all to share ideas and take questions, which they did go through those steps and do those. And then having the town hall style meeting, which they did do. And then they were told that they had to submit an application for annexation and work through that. Like we said, a meeting was held in October for the citizens. They had good turnout. They were there, spent a lot of time working on that. I can't pronounce his last name, Tojum.
Yeah.
From Whitsett, their engineers reached out about what the next steps would be for annexations, and over the next few weeks, we worked with them to go, okay, this is the process of how it gets annexed in. There were emails sent back and forth. I have those emails. I didn't print them off because I need to print them off, but I do have copies of the emails that I was part of. And basically, we worked with our city attorney to work to draft an annexation petition. We provided it to them on November 19th. And this was given to them to say, okay, you need to go for the township. They were explained what to do and go from there. And during this process, I had received an angry phone call from Ms. King here, who hung up on me during the call because she didn't like that we weren't moving fast enough for her. And then that was it. I didn't hear anything past that until January 3rd, when I received a rezoning application, at which point I had to reach out and go, okay, what is our process for this? And I talked with our attorney and kind of figured out things and realized we can't rezone property that is not within city limits. It is within the township. They have their own zoning stuff. We cannot, by law, rezone a property that we do not have annexed into the city. So they needed to complete their annexation process before we can move forward with rezoning, which is why you'll see in the email that he provided of mine, it was denied because it's not in here. Told him I'd hold on to it, and I noticed there was no date. That's fine. We can put the date on it later. So we've got it ready to go for when that time happens, but there are steps that need to be taken beforehand. So there was communication. I had also reached out and talked with the engineers from Widseth. They were unaware that a rezoning was going to be happening. That was pushed through without their knowledge. I tried to work with them to move forward on the next steps to help this continue forward, to make sure, hey, we are both aligned, the city as well as their group. I got a response back, and this was yesterday. I got a response back today that he was told by Ms. King not to communicate with me further on this, and that was that. So from my end, their communication is also lacking and has been a struggle for me to try and work through this process when it's, there's just not the communication going that way either. And I don't know, I'm not gonna speak to what's happening in their group. I don't know if they're communicating with each other, but I do know what I have for emails and what's been communicated and move forward, and we are trying to move forward with the process. I do want this to be a success. I know the city wants it to be a success. I think it's a great project, and I've said that from the very beginning. And so I'm highly encouraging them to keep moving forward, but there is a process we need to follow for this to happen. And it's not something that can be rushed. We can't be bullied into do this now or else. If that's the stance they want to take, I'm sorry for that. But, it's one of those things, we have to follow proper procedures and we have to follow the law here in what we're doing.
So November 19th was one of the communications. Was that the last one you heard?
Yeah.
And then into January, but after November 19th, did you reach out at all?
No,
So from almost,
because it was in them to meet up with, and the last I had heard is they were going to talk to the township.
but there was no outreach from you at all from November 19th on through.
No,
the
I was
year.
extremely busy with other things. There was no outreach. I was waiting for them to respond.
As far as the November 3rd communication that we got by our legal counsel, they told us not to sign it because we had no idea what we were agreeing to. And they knew that.
I don't know what you're talking about.
All right, so what I have right now is a map that's similar, very similar to, I think, what we saw in September, that when we did get presented with that, we were, if I recall, pretty excited about the idea of new businesses coming to town. With that, I know we don't have control on what's going there, but I do know we do have the ability, should something come to us, to, if it doesn't work into our monthly schedule, we have to follow state law if there's a public hearing involved, but we are able to schedule additional meetings on the planning and zoning side. That's what I know we can do on our side of it here for P and Z. Now, what I can't do is I have the ability to make things magically happen in other areas outside of the little P and Z group that we have here.
See,
So-
we were told we had to come before you to get your blessing to move on to the commissioners.
Yeah, for the annexation, there's nothing we do on that. If there's an actual zoning application that gets passed to us, then you absolutely do need, you don't have to come in person, but it's certainly something that we'd recommend. But we did not receive and there was nothing noticed for us that there'd be a public hearing or any type of zoning change request for this evening.
And I think combining the two, is something too that should be separate. That should be annexation and then the zoning to go along with it, you know, with what they have for highway commercial that there is, it's already on the one side. That's at the other side, I know that we also had highway commercial that's already been established on the east side as well, which is what was done with Glenn's Motor Coach. Because that was put in as highway commercial to get that zoning done, so that would just, I think, automatically fit in because of the president that was present that was set there for that. But it's to me, it's how do we move this thing ahead? You know, we keep going around in a circle. How do we move ahead to get this done? That's
Finish the annexation petition with the township. It needs to be officially annexed into the city before we can move ahead. I mean, there is nothing we can do with it until it's annexed into the city. It's not our property. We can't say, it needs to be this. Yeah, no, I'm just saying, like, that's the thing. And then once that happens, absolutely, these things can be brought simultaneously together. You're gonna look at the annexation coming forward, the rezoning coming forward, and then the future land use plan will have to be amended. All those can happen at the same time. You just gotta do a step-by-step process as we go through with council. Yep.
And how many more months are you talking?
Depends on when the annexation happens from the township. And then we have to do the public hearing for the rezoning with them, which does require a time limit of
We have to, I believe,
10
give
days
this 10 days.
notice beforehand. So there are time constraints that we're on because of when the meetings are and when all these things happen, but it's that first step is finishing the annexation.
So, you know, with that, who's got,
So where is it sitting right now?
yeah, that's what I'm trying to, what,
It's been with them since November to get the annexation done.
Linda?
Well, a couple of things I'll add to it is, and you tell me, is the annexation into the city. I don't feel that we want to do that unless we know we're gonna have the zone change before we annex. Is that correct or not? Is that correct, Linda?
Yeah.
I mean, annex in the city and not get it zoned the way we want it?
Can I speak to this so you guys aren't
Yes.
doing this?
That's just a
So
question.
I know, and I'll speak to it because I don't want them to make any promise or anything. My understanding of you from everything we've gone through with the past is you've done all the correct steps going forward with meeting with everybody. There is a lot of approval from the community.
Yeah.
I think there's support from everybody in the city, including all the boards and stuff. I don't foresee it being a problem being annexed in. That is the best we can give you. We can't sit here and say as a group, say, yep, you're gonna be annexed in. That would be a violation.
Let me
We don't
ask you
have that
this
ability.
question.
But it's one of those, one second, it's one of those things that you have all the support and it's showing.
Yeah.
I can't tell you for certain, but you have the most support I've seen for anything going into this.
Well.
I don't see that for being a problem.
Yeah,
being annexed.
my comments to that, Jason, I appreciate what you just said, but, you know, I don't think the trust on this side of the table, the podium is there to do something like that. You know, yes, we feel like it's 90% and we shouldn't have a problem, but we've had a problem, and we continue to have a problem. So I don't know if the trust is there to trust that that will happen. Just
Ryland
because.
told us our fees would be a total of $50,000. Then I hear from Ari, who's doing a development in here, that is $1,170,000. I am not willing to sign on till I know what the hell is going on.
I can't speak to that because this is the first time hearing of it. I don't know what you're talking about. So I won't even address that. So. Yeah, but as far as that, like I said, unfortunately, I can't give you any more of a guarantee because it is up to them, but I don't personally
If
see.
you can't answer those questions, then I don't want to be in the city. Because I'll tell you, The township has given us specific answers to every question that we have. And we do not have fees. We have lower taxes. We can do the same development, keeping it in the township. We'll just do a community soup.
And I don't, but again, I don't know specifically, this is the first time I'm hearing of a question of fees of anything. I can't give you that answer because there's a lot
Maybe
that
not
goes into
you,
it.
but those questions have been asked.
Okay, well, you're asking me and I can't give you that answer because it hasn't been to me. So I can't provide you any kind of relevant answer,
Well-
unfortunately.
Unless I have those kind of answers, I'm not interested.
But there's a lot of specifics that go with that would need to be known to provide you even close, remotely close to an appropriate fee amount of what kind of fees you'd be looking at.
You
So-
know, I've done 15 developments, housing developments, commercial developments, some pretty good sized ones.
Thank you.
Okay, just a couple things, please.
Yes.
Jason, you mentioned a lot of times it was given to them, they were told and that stuff like that. I guess I'm a pretty good pack rat and I save a lot of things, especially when it's in writing and I'm still pretty darn sharp. But I don't know much more than what I have, that's been given to me anyway. So all these things that you're saying may be true, but they didn't come my direction, and I don't know if they came Linda's direction to stick up for her on that part of it. I do see that I do notice there's several emails throughout this time I've been involved in this, and some people are on it sometimes, and some people are not on it sometimes, and then it continues on, and then people drop off, and people get added on. So I don't know who's your main communication person on this project?
It's usually a group thing, but it's one of those things, it's when we get an email, if there's an email chain going, it's who's on it, it's a reply all to whoever's in there. And I know there's been several different ones, if you will, over the months, so I can't say for certain, as to which ones were going to which, but I do know, like I said, with the annexation agreement, we did have our attorney work specifically with Witsat to get that stuff going because they were supposed to communicate all that with you guys. And I don't, I assume, I guess, that maybe that's wrong for me to assume that your groups are communicating amongst each other, when we're relaying information, if we're relaying pertinent information.
I received only one email from you or from anyone else.
Okay? But it's one of those things, then again, I assume communication was happening within your guys' camp as far as everything going on. So when there's stuff getting passed around to people that are all part of that and doing this and working on the project, it's my understanding that they're communicating that with everybody involved on your end as well, if they're not directly in an email.
But I also
That's
learned,
not our fault.
but I also learned tonight that there's been no communication with you or our group, we'll say, since November 19th. And that's a long time.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
To follow up just to see how you guys are coming and, a reminder, this is what I need from you and stuff like that. But that's my opinion on that. I will say two last things, I hope, and that is I will let you good people know that I once had a long list of businesses that wanted to come to Orinoco. And a lot of that list was a lot of locals, not corporations or anything like that, that wanted to start small business and keep the city going. That list has become a short list. And right now it's kind of no list because we've lost all that business through all this time of waiting and waiting and waiting. And the application that Jason denied, I would like to have that reopened up and active. And if you want today's date on there, we can put that on there. It's not a big deal. Is that possible to make it active again, our application?
Well, we have not received anything or denied any.
Jason's got that.
Well, here we're
So,
not, yeah, I'm not
right.
saying we, I'm saying us in this room.
City, yeah.
I'm
Denial.
from the city saying no, because again, after talking with legal, we have a clock that starts when you do these things. And we have a time frame that things have to be done, and there's a process and an order has to be done, and we can't accept to start the process of rezoning a property we do not have in our city.
I don't think the zoning is a part of that.
That's the application, is the further zoning.
Yeah, but it's for the annexation is what needs to be done first.
But it could be
Yeah,
put
but
on hold.
that's on,
pending
that part's on
annexation.
him, it's the zoning he's asking, he's talking about.
I think it could be put on hold pending annexation. We haven't, I don't know,
It's hard for us to agree on something when a lot of times I
we
see,
have not seen an application.
see this
in our
not,
package.
this not agreeing with it, each other, you know, it's very difficult for me.
I'd agree.
I'm gonna get back to Jim Phillips' statement, and that is, where do we go from here? I mean, I don't wanna walk out of here not knowing anything more than I walked into, again. Okay, tell me what to do, I'll control it. And I'll get things done the right way, the legal way, the process way, your way.
The annexation,
Within a time limit.
and once the annexation, and whether it can be stacked in the same meeting or hearings, I don't have the answer. That's a legal question. I'm not a lawyer. But the zone change if needed. And that's another question. We have not seen an application, so I have not looked through the code on that. I've heard that, yep.
Yeah.
But we up here have not seen it, nor did we know about it until today. So with
Is that normal? Excuse me. Is that normal? That the committee doesn't know about denying a
Well,
planning and zoning
any
request?
application that comes through is supposed to come to us for a denial.
Yeah,
Yeah.
boy, I don't know.
I can't
you guys.
accept it until it's completed and done properly, so I would
Because I
accept it
didn't
in our
have a date.
office.
And you
So-
were not around, because we had a question, what date do you want on 20?
So with that,
22,
we do
23?
have a meeting scheduled for next month, but we do have the ability, if we need to add an additional meeting from the P and Z side. So that is what we are able to do here. But that all goes back to making sure that there's an application for us to have a hearing or have a meeting for. The annexation would go through council.
Well, I
They
mean,
also have had the ability and do occasionally call additional meetings. And we also have that same ability. The time frame on how all of that pulling together is, other than us scheduling this one here, the rest of that would be out of my control. But that is certainly something that we have one of our council members here tonight, we have our mayor here tonight, that should certainly be on their radar if they need to call a special meeting. Because their meeting is next week otherwise.
No, it's a week
Week
after.
from Tuesday.
Week from Tuesday,
Is that
so
the 19th?
Yes.
whether that would fit whatever timeframes need to be, or whether they'd have to do something different,
it's a third,
it's out of my,
the third.
Yeah, it's not the 19th, it's the 21st. The 19th is
Yeah.
You're
sorry.
right.
I gotta look at
Yeah.
calendars, but.
so I was like, 19th is Sunday.
So beyond that, that's what I can tell you for dates and timeframes. But I do certainly appreciate you coming to the meeting tonight, bringing all of this to our attention, in particular, the timeframes and the communications. So I do appreciate that, because we did also just get handed the memo this evening, so that's that, other
Okay.
than a quick, can you add this to the agenda, is what we've received on it. So I appreciate you coming forward here
Thank you for your
very
time.
much.
So
Thank you for coming in.
on what there is with the lawyer, the one that was done on the 19th, November 19th, right? Okay, is there any follow-up with that you could maybe help me out with, Joe, or I'm just trying to figure out where this is, or with you, Jason, too, to move this along. Is that where it's at right now?
With them, I haven't heard anything from them, we haven't heard anything from them, so I don't know where they're at in their process with it. So if
What
they-
haven't you heard?
the annexation process, where you guys are at with that.
Well, we've only been asking for that for over 2 years.
Okay,
So is that on the 19th, that letter? Again, I don't know what that is, Jason, so I'm.
that was our attorney working with them to set up the annexation petition to go to Orinoco Township to have their properties be
That's the
annexed
first
into
I've
the,
heard that we need to go to
into
Orinoco Township.
the city.
Because
So
the
that's- and
township
if-
has got to be notified for sure, I would think with that, so.
So that was all part of that back in November doing that stuff. So they've had it since
And we
November in
told
their
you
court to
we
figure out
wouldn't
what
sign
to do.
unless we knew what the fees, et cetera, were going to be. We have gotten.
Okay,
none of
so
that.
is that a letter that needs to come back from her attorney, that what the fees and that the questions that might be on that?
Mhm.
Could we maybe look at that, Joe, and see if we could get those questions brought back again so that we could get this thing resolved? Because
I don't have a list of those questions about what the fees are, so what, I don't know what she's talking about. So if there's something specific you'd like, send it to me and I can start getting that information gathered as far as what the fees, but there's gonna need to be specifics about, you know, what the project is and all that, and I'm sure Joe will have some of that basic information, because he's been part of some of these meetings, so be able to help provide guidance, Joe Palin. So, you know, but we can help get those addressed, they've never been brought to me, so I don't know. And I can't answer that tonight.
Because I wanna get this off dead center, you know, if we can, and let's move. You know, and so that's where I'm trying to figure out where it's at so that we can all move ahead and be on the same.
Yeah, with a lot of cooks in the kitchen, you know, it'd be nice if we had like a couple point guards, you know, communicating well and letting their side know well on where we're all at on this.
Well, you know, I'm the liaison that there is between P and Z and city council. Okay, and I think that this needs to come and should be brought to the attention of city council of what's going on, so that council knows.
Fine.
You know, of what's happening and how we can get this thing off dead center as quick as we can, so that you can get ready for construction going ahead, and you get a chance to find the residents and the companies that you're looking for to be able to go into that facility. Again, I'm just gonna say too, and not speaking out of turn, and Jason, I'm sure you're right too, is that the west side is on the map for what it is for zoning for highway commercial.
Okay, what about it?
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. So half of that was the zoning question that you had on that. Is that on our future land map on that side, on the west side?
Oh, I understand. I'm just saying from everything I've researched and been told to know, when it comes into the city, it's all R1. And because it's made a certain way in the future land use plan, that's why I don't foresee it being a problem.
I don't see, I just want to make sure you understand
Yeah,
while we're talking about this, you know, where
Yeah.
Linda wants an exact answer. You know, and again, on the other side, with the fact that Glenn's Motor Coach is on the east side and butted up to,
yeah.
already done that way.
It should be easy.
It should be easy because it's already been set as highway commercial.
Present.
Nothing's been easy for us.
No, that's why
Nothing's
I'm,
been easy for you folks either.
Yeah,
mean,
no, I
so we
just-
gotta
I-
just come together a little bit more.
yeah, no, that's what I'm trying to do to do this. So I'm gonna bring this, and I'd love to have, if you wanna be at council, to bring this up, because it's
Yeah.
something that's important for the city. You know, when I'm looking at the tax revenue, that would be great for the city. I look at what it is for the water and sewer. Those are all very positive things that we're looking for.
Could we do this? Jim, could I ask you to make sure you both have each other's contact information? Because I would like just P and Z to have an ear and know what's going on, so at the next meeting, you can give us the update. I'm hoping that this all gets resolved and sooner than later, and maybe we'll have a quicker meeting than the one next month. But with that, if you could be our liaison for
Okay.
P and Z to just keep us involved, because I know when I got on P and Z, one of the things that we had read was the League of Minnesota Handbook for Mayors, and when you look at the P and Z stuff out there, says that we don't have necessarily a zoning administrator for the city, that's city staff. But they did say in that P and Z handbook that it wasn't always necessarily the mayor that would be the one. In fact, we could get ourselves
A liaison.
a liaison would be
I'm the
better.
zoning administrator, according to the
Jason-
job description.
Jason would be our zoning administrator. But with that, to keep the communication rolling so that we're involved there, include you as our CC.
Okay,
And I would, hopefully, it's not at 45 days, because that's a long time to not hear crickets chirping there, so. Knowing there's some holidays in there, but that's still 45 days long.
Yeah.
But if you could make sure, maybe we'll just take a quick brief recess and you could exchange contact information, then we'll reconvene and come back to the next last.
My information's on one of those pieces of paper, Jim, and I'll,
we'll do it.
yeah.
So yeah, if you could pause it and we'll take a 5-minute break.
Yeah, I got it right here.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
much, I'm gonna go home. If you need something, I usually get it done.
Yeah.
And then I need to know what to do, because I mean, I
You know,
know,
that,
you
what
may
I,
not know your forms like you may not know mine.
yeah, no, the thing that there is I just wanna try to figure out why the stop and what's it need to do to pick this one up from the November 19th.
Yeah.
You know, if there's questions that they have back to the
I'm
city,
familiar
you
with
gotta
the
get their
township
questions.
stuff. I
back
was
to
out
the
on
city.
township zoning for about 8 years, 10 years, whatever it was. Been a while.
And I hate to continue on here, but I did
Yeah.
hear annexation, but I don't think I heard we wanna annex until we know the zones change.
Well, then that's why we're trying to say that, you
Yeah,
know, what Jason said too, is like everything is, but we gotta do it first before we can't zone change it if we don't have the property.
Well, the other thing.
You
that
know, I
heard-
mean, but we know what's gonna be coming and Jason, you know, is that same thing, it's here.
I also heard maybe a contingency or something like that, subject to,
Well, no, well,
and then we'll get them both going.
Well,
I'm
and,
just
and
hoping
what
that-
if I heard this correctly, that your contingency is that you don't want to annex unless you know that the zoning is gonna happen and until you understand what the fees for the project are gonna be from the city.
Seems reasonable.
Yeah,
That's what I heard.
absolutely.
And I'm not,
And
she's not
so-
signing nothing until.
Those are,
Seems reasonable.
those are things that I believe are reasonable as well.
Okay. So let's.
I just wanted to clarify
Move ahead,
all
yeah.
of the stipulations,
Yeah.
all of the conditions on both sides, so.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, we do
Go ahead.
appreciate you stepping out here tonight.
Shaking your head, talk to
I
her.
disagree with part of that statement because I look at if the Hamilton development, if you guys have done the same thing, said, we're not gonna develop until you let us know that we're gonna be rezoned properly. And you had said, yep, you're gonna be rezoned, and then it came through the way it did, there would
But
have
we're
been a
not
lawsuit.
telling them right now.
But
that it's gonna be
but they're
rezoned.
asking for that guarantee, and that's what you
No,
just
and-
referenced.
and-
So that's,
But
No.
what I'm saying is
We've
that
done other things
I'm
where
just trying to
this is
understand from my own
approved contingent
understanding.
on this.
You know, I'm trying to clarify, this is what you say you need,
yeah.
this is what
just wanna
we
make sure
say
we're
we
being
need.
very careful.
Oh, I am not trying to lay groundwork for any future promises. I'm just trying to understand. Now, if we get the annexation done and they get the rezoning, but they didn't know what the fees were, then they're not gonna wanna go through with the project and all of us are gonna be spinning our wheels still. That was my
Right, no,
point.
that's
So
what I
I'm-
just wanna make sure we're clear on that.
No, I'm super clear.
I just know we've had other things, whether I don't know necessarily annexation, but we've had this, if this zone change doesn't go through, then this conditional use, so there's
Yeah.
different things you can stack.
Yeah,
And
but
this
those are already
annex,
stuff within the city.
within this,
control.
understanding that, but annexation. But you could certainly, even though we don't have it legally, whether it's not on hold or rejected or denied, it's something that we gotta figure out. Figure out which way to do it.
And it'd just be
But-
nice to know what the hurdles are that are in place to get from
Right.
where we're at to a project that is completed.
See,
But yeah, that was
Not knowing about all
my,
this until today, I'm a research person, so I would have.
yeah, I'm not trying to grease the wheels for anything. I'm just trying to understand what the stipulations are on both sides.
So thank you.
Thank you. You're on the clock, Jim.
Thank you, Joe.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Does our break start now or are we done?
I think we're done.
I think we're done with our break.
We're done. Still in here? Good. Yeah. All right, break is done. With that, zoning administration discussion, and with that, so Jason, you're officially our zoning administrator for the city.
That's what my job.
Part of your job
description
description is that. But with that, the zoning, how is that progressing? I know we don't have a report for zone changes or anything that's gone through for this last month necessarily. Or is there?
Well, we normally haven't had Jason as a part of that, even though he's been doing that duty. Are you looking for what permits are there?
Permits have been issued.
There hasn't been a whole lot of new permits that have been going on, and I watch iWorks, you know, to stay on top of that and what's happening, so.
Okay.
And I'll be honest, I've been swamped since I got back from leave. And without being reached out to say, hey, I'm putting together the agenda, can I get that? That wasn't even on my mind of a thing to put together a monthly building permit.
And there wasn't that much that's on it.
We've had a few things, you know, there's been a few like addition things that have come in like more recent today that I still have to go, you know, get sent off, people doing some additions to like a porch and making it like a Four Seasons room, or I think there was a solar thing, and there's some minor things like that, but there really hasn't been much because I think we're in winter time.
Right.
So
With that, with the zoning administration being part of your job duties currently, how does that work? Do you send things right off then to our support, or are you trying to work through them knowing you're short-staffed?
Well, right now, I don't know, but it's, in the past, how it's worked is, you know, when we get stuff into the city, we receive all the applications, things. We've got to go through, verify that, you know, either one, is this something that needs to go to P and Z or not? And if it does, is it complete? Is it ready to go? Like this example, one application not complete, minor incomplete. That wasn't the big thing. The big thing was we don't have the property. It's not annexed into the city, which was the reason for denial. So no, it's not going to come before you guys at this meeting. Again, something that was going to be addressed. I'm working on a ton of stuff, but trying to put together memos to send out. This was going to be addressed tonight for you guys anyways. Again, hadn't heard anything as to what the agenda was or if there was one. So I was going to hope that there was a meeting tonight and we could talk about it. So I'm glad I had a little bit of something, but yeah, that's the process of how it works. We input the stuff, we get it from, you know, the applications, and then we have to figure out what to do as a city. That's how this works. And then once, if it's something that needs to go before P and Z, it goes before P and Z. So that's how the permitting process and rezoning and all these other processes work, is they come into us, we determine what needs to happen with them. And then if there's a public hearing that needs to happen, we push for a public hearing and we go through that process. And that's the way it's always worked. And that's the way how it works in every city that I've ever been a part of. So.
That makes sense. It does. And like I said, I didn't see anything that there was on iWorks that's, you know, jumped out at me at all, that's anything that we weren't aware of.
Okay.
You know, and that's all I do is stay on top of that and try to look at that on a regular basis.
As for right now with staffing shortages, if something major comes across, I will be reaching out for help with stuff like that. I'm not gonna, like, I mean, it's just one of those things where, you know, there'll be notifications sent out maybe a little bit early, but it's gonna be asking for help because need help getting these things ready. You know, I don't have the staffing with me to get these ready, like having
Is it
Renee in
something
there.
that we can send off to our zoning support though, even
Well,
the more
it-
complex
What do you mean our
questions?
zoning support?
It's
Well,
a matter
to
when you're talking.
Stantec.
You
Yeah,
know,
there's stuff
Yeah.
I'm always consulting with Stantec. If I have a question about zoning stuff, I am reaching out to them and asking them. Because I want to make sure I have the correct information before I'm responding to somebody's email or sending things off. I'm making sure the city is crossing their Ts and dotting their Is so that we're doing things the right way. Which will take a little bit of time as we go through, because you're playing email tag back and forth with people, but I want to make sure we've got all the correct information when we do that.
everything has been working pretty good, okay, and I think what Jason was saying, if you need some help on putting together packets or different things, is that what you're saying, Jason, off of that you can reach out to us, and I'll be glad to help.
I'm not putting together packets. I'm strictly doing my office stuff, work stuff. I'm saying like, If I get something where, okay, we know we're gonna need a public hearing or things like that, then yeah, I'll be reaching out for help to help disseminate information at that point until we start getting staff in, but yeah.
All right,
You wanna go over, I'm sorry, you ready for the
should
old
we move
business?
into old business? So open positions, I had interview any candidates present. I'm putting my name there, but there was not an application necessarily posted on the website.
Okay, well, then we'll go ahead and I make a motion that you be chair for next year.
We,
Do we have a
Well,
second?
Well, I
do
think,
we have a
we don't
quorum?
have a quorum, so there won't be. Yep.
Heard.
No, I don't know. That's the
Yeah, no,
question.
you're on,
Well,
so I'm
if
just
we-
saying
if
that's
we go
four. We got a
by-
But it
quorum.
goes to council anyway to approve or,
Well, that's okay, so I put you in as I nominate you to be chair, okay, and do
well,
I have
that
a
would be
second?
election of positions, okay?
Yeah, a second,
I would second that.
okay, all in favor?
We have a
Aye.
non-binding abstain, a non-binding information you can forward to
That I will
council.
forward to city council on that.
And they can take action should they choose.
Yes. Okay, so,
And so this is not an official recommendation, but an unofficial one coming from three of the,
Seated.
yes.
yeah, well, it's a quorum, so we're there, okay, and, you know, so,
Yes, I'll go with that.
okay, so I'll bring that up in front of council. Jason, do you wanna, since that's the end of that one, well, before, you wanna go through the Nash thing off of
Yeah, I
that?
can discuss
Yeah,
that for you guys real quick if you want me to.
Yeah,
I know we had, it was just brought up, maybe November, I think there were some questions, I can't remember if it was November or December, I think it was November, Ms. Knapp was in here.
Mhm.
So I wrote another memo, part of this, the first couple paragraphs of this, through June, those were actually from a memo I sent and gave to you guys previously during the, that time frame in July. I think it was for the July Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, of what was done and kind of a time frame of that. Again, reinstating, there was a lot of work done prior. We had gotten the warrant to inspect the house and we went and inspected the house. Ms. Nash was present. The house was deemed, uninhabitable, a big hazard. And, you know, no one should be allowed to enter and that wouldn't take effect until there was notice on the door. While I was there, I did speak with Ms. Nash and I told her, hey, this is going to happen. If there's anything in that house you want, you should probably get it out sooner rather than later. It was a courtesy that I gave her. When that notice was gonna be posted, I wasn't sure. It was posted the next day, but it was still, she had almost 24 hours to do anything if she really wanted to. Not that, again, my personal opinion, going into that house, I don't know what would have been saved from it. It was just very bad. Again, so you'll see here, you know, there was a notice posted on the property due to current conditions, that, you know, no one should be allowed into the house. Mid-September, the main house on the property was demolished. There were a few smaller sheds that remained that needed to be removed. I did take some photographs. There was the RV and another vehicle on site as well. But I did go out and inspect the property because I was notified by residents around there, hey, the house is being demolished. Cool. So I went out there, took some photographs. And you'll see I did attach a photograph to this in the back. I thought it was gonna print color, but it's black and white. But if you look at the top, kind of mid-right section here, back here, there's a cement pad on this property. There is no shed or anything on that cement pad. It is just a blank cement pad. That's the way it was when we were there every time I was there. So, you know, just keep that in mind as we move forward here. And so, you know, that was great. It was coming down. We were working, everything seemed to be going fine. On the 23rd of September, I received a call from a neighbor that a shed was now being constructed on the property. We had not received a permit for this. It was being constructed on that cement pad. I contacted our building official with CMS and spoke with them. They went out there and looked at it because we were trying to figure out if it was sized, because our city ordinance is if it's under 200 square feet, it doesn't need a permit, all this other stuff. And not being as familiar with the zoning codes at the time, you know, I said, hey, Randy, go look at this stuff and let me know what you think. Eisman Services was out there, he talked to them, and they said that they would do a permit for the building. I think we got the permit, sorry. A cease and desist was put on the building. After this was reviewed by the zoning contractor, stated that they can't have an accessory building. So we got a permit, it was kind of reviewed, and that's when it was caught by Phil. Hey, there's no primary building on here. You cannot have an accessory building. And so a cease and desist was put on the facility, on the shed, basically saying, you can't have this without the principal first. Meaning the house would have to be built and then the shed could be there. Contact was made with the property owner as well as the contractor. They were notified of this. Got an email back from Eisman that stated that the shed was in place prior to the demolition of the house, which it was not. You can clearly see from the photograph here, the house is behind the backhoe and there is no shed on that property. I spoke with Mary Nash. She did come in to talk. I don't remember exactly what date that was, but it was in October. I talked with her. She gave me her story about everything and I, told her like, this is what's going on. You can't have this shed here. It needs to be removed or you have to get permission from planning and zoning to have this shed on here. And you need to have a variance done for that. And so I kind of explained the process to her and that's when she said she wanted to be on planning and zoning to come forward and talk. And so that's why she was on that meeting when she came forward and talked to you guys about what was going on and claimed that she was never told this stuff and that the shed was there. And again, the shed was not. And I mean, I was there, visited these things. I get calls from the neighbors. The neighbors know exactly what's going on. I still get calls from the neighbors. They're still going into the shed and moving stuff in and out and utilizing it. It's getting to the point again where we're having this is a problem and we're probably gonna have to take legal action against her as a city to get this dealt with, because it's just, they're being unreasonable in my eyes. So this is the update of where we're at. I've been so swamped, I haven't pursued much further on it. I keep in touch with that, but like I said, I do get questions and calls from the neighbors as to, what steps can be taken? Is this gonna come down? And what are we gonna do? So it's something that I think needs to be addressed and should be addressed soon to help figure out, but I have the feeling it's going to draw into another legal battle as we move forward.
Yeah, we did the same, yeah.
So, I'm not gonna shy away from it. The last time we had this with the house, it took, 7-10 years to deal with. I'm not gonna shy away from it. I'm not giving them any more warnings. This is clear cut. They violated this. This is done. Never should have been put up. They're in the wrong 100% in my eyes. And I'm okay moving forward with it, but it needs backing support from P and Z and council permission to move forward with all that. So that's kind of the update. That's where we're at with it. And, if you guys would like some more information and to get something put on for next month is to take action, start working on that. You want a recommendation to council, but I don't know what your guys' thoughts are or.
You want us to do that here with that first, because we really don't have anything else, like an application or anything to go
I was
with.
gonna say, there's not necessarily anything on our side. If it's just existing violations, they don't really go to P and Z. For existing properties, they just
I'll
go to
just-
council.
I'll bring it to council and do it that way for this next meeting, so at least.
Okay, well, I'll make sure this memo gets put in for council to be
Okay.
aware.
Okay.
And I'll try to touch base with Mike and see what our steps would be. This is so weird and
This
just,
is probably back to the same thing we went through on all the different steps that we needed to do to get the house demolished to do that.
it's gonna be this needs to be taken, and we're gonna have to give orders for it to be taken down. Give
Yeah,
it,
goes to council on that one.
Yeah.
timeline. There's gonna have to be a lot of steps to go with it, so.
All right. Well, I thank you for the extra memo on that one and the updates.
Yeah, so
With that, we're out of new business and we're out of old business. So
Yeah.
unless somebody has something new, I would certainly take a motion.
I
to
make
adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
second.
First and a second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned at 7:42.
That'd be my first.
Oh,
That's why I
wait.
said you get a chance. Make a
You guys.
motion.